Throughout the last 2 years, the sun god has all but been a mystery. We know that Luffy is the second coming of the sun god, but who exactly was the sun god based off of? Was it Hanuman? Was it Sun Wukong? Or was it someone else? Within this video, I will reveal the true origins of the Sun God Nika, and trust me, it's not who you think it is. But before we get into that, let's cue up that intro.
He's a bad man, Sun God Nika, yeah, you know that he's a bad man, but he's a good guy, yeah, he's a good guy. He's known as the warrior of liberation, yeah, this is such a sensation, because we finally about to figure out who it is, based off of, by the king that was from the real world.
The Sun God Nika, a mysterious figure within the wonderful world of One Piece, a god whom is depicted by the powers of the 𝙲𝚙𝚙𝚤 no mi Mado Nika. This figure is worshipped by many different islands that have ties to the ancient kingdom. The individuals a part of the fishmen pirates have a tattoo of the sun, which I believe was inspired by the individual known as the Sun God. Though we know that this tattoo only looks like this because they wanted to mask the look of the branding that they received due to their enslavement by the celestial dragons, I still just have this feeling that the Sun God Nika had to be the inspiration for this tattoo looking like this in the first place. To those in Wano, he is worshipped as the Wisdom King, which we learned from Boss Hyogoro. The people of Wano even having a balloon float, giving us a prime example of what this Wisdom King looked like, and his resemblance to Luffy's Gear 4th and 5th forms. And last, the Sun God brought to light within the series by Nolan's flashback on 𝙲𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝, where we learn of the gods from the ancient kingdom. The first name uttered was the Sun God. We know that Sun God Nika had the epithet of joyboy, but we have no idea exactly who the Sun God was based off of from the real world. There are many different stories of deities that have similarities to the Sun God within One Piece, but to me, none of these completely seem believable to be the inspiration behind the iconic figure. Well, that was until I found one Yoruba god that has a foot that fits perfectly into the shoe. Or should I say the sandal? This god is Shango, the king of the Orishas. Shango is an Orisha. Orishas, for those that are unaware, are forces of nature, which we could categorize under gods and deities. Shango was a human king, but during his rule, he was approached and challenged by a subject, but ultimately got overthrown by a powerful sorcerer, whose powers were far beyond what Shango thought the individual could do, ultimately taking the throne from Shango in his defeat. After this defeat, Shango's old followers pushed Shango to the side and decided to keep the sorcerer as their leader. All of those followers believed that Shango was not fit to be their ruler, making light of the fact that Shango couldn't control his powers of fire, thunder, and lightning. He ended himself in suicide after losing the throne. He is associated with both fire and lightning, typically associated with a double-headed war axe or oshe. He is also depicted with a battle drum, believed to be the instrument used to summon his powerful thunder storms. Even though this belief of this particular god was from the past, some still believe in this god to this day. Sounds quite familiar, right? He is worshipped in both Africa and Brazil. Shango is looked at to be a lover and supporter of animals. He is a feast and party enthusiast. He is the life of any party that he is a part of. He has a relationship with Oya, the Yoruban goddess of the Niger River, whom is able to control rain and bring fertility to earth, whom could be seen as Emu in the story today. Shango in the past was seen as a fiery leader, a voice like thunder and a mouth that spits fire. As I said, Shango is an Orisha, which means that he is a god and or a deity, whichever way you want to see it. But the thing about Shango is that he is associated with dancing and justice. In Yoruba mythology, Shango holds the dual role of being both the king and judge amongst the Orishas. He upholds the order and balance, prioritizing the triumph of truth above all else. He is a dispenser of justice, able to distinguish between right and wrong, along with truth and lies. Shango is known for his intolerance of injustice, punishing those who engage in injustice severely. In Yoruba music, the bata drums hold significant importance and are associated with Shango. Hey, cue the bata drums.
Yeah. You
Nowadays,
Now let's carry on. He is the patron saint of music and dance. His dance is so powerful that it makes the world tremble to the sound of the drums. The fire and flames also dance to the beats of the bata drums. He typically would dance with his 3 most famous consorts, whom I believe have ties to 3 specific female characters in the story of One Piece. These 3 individuals are Oshun, Oya, and Oba. These characters will be talked about in a future video, so don't forget to subscribe and turn those post notifications on. Shango is renowned for his exceptional wisdom. He is a leader of great wisdom and fairness, who constantly strives for equilibrium and unity. According to the teachings of the Orisha, genuine power is from upholding justice, truth, and integrity. The king of the Orishas is known for his unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and fairness. Many of the Yakuba brought their belief of Shango to the Americas when they were captured as slaves and brought to the Americas through slave trade. This makes a huge connection between the real world and the story of One Piece, as we learned from Who's Who during the Wano raid, that slaves had a belief that if you pray for salvation to the Sun God Nika, he will one day set you free. The connection between Shango and Luffy is quite hard to miss with the details that were given. One thing that had me confused was when Luffy awakened his Gear 5th form against Kaido, we see a flash of lightning shoot upward into the sky. I questioned, why did Oda depict Luffy with this lightning emitting from his body instead of just fire? Luffy might not control lightning as of yet, but we have seen him hold a lightning bolt and use it as a weapon. We know that Kaido can summon these storm clouds at will, but what if at one point during their fight, he took control of the clouds, causing the thunder to rumble and the lightning to bend to his will? We have also seen Luffy jumpstart his heart after he died on Onigashima, the drums of liberation starting once Luffy's heart started beating again. I believe that this startup is the same as Enel's in the way he is able to restart his heart with his electric abilities. Electricity is something that we know Vegapunk has been working on to run eternally using an eternal flame. Personally, I believe that the eternal flame comes from the ability of the Sun God, producing electricity through fire. One point that might go overlooked is that the human body, if you are unaware, moves due to electrical impulses, and each human body produces heat as we move as well. Which is why when Luffy changes his gears, steam is seen emitting from his body, which could also be why Vegapunk was so infatuated with Luffy's Gear 5th form, wanting to see it in person for himself. As we know, Vegapunk has loads of information about the ancient kingdom that he learned from going to Ohara and reading books after the destruction of the island. Perhaps within these books, it talked of an eternal flame that was used to power a kingdom, very similar to what Enel did when he went to the moon, but this particular power source not being needed to be recharged but lasting eternally, due to the Devil Fruit ability awakening. Just like the islands we see with extreme climates that have been changed by Zoan users' abilities. For example, Punk Hazard's climate has been eternally changed from the battle between Akainu and Aokiji. one half having freezing temperatures with snow and ice, while the other half coated in magma with erupting volcanoes. With these abilities that have awakened with Luffy's awakening, a lot might not be known, but what we do know is that Shango and Luffy seem to relate in more ways than one, or should I say Shango and Joyboy. And what I mean by this is that the story of Shango seems to relate, or should I say the story of Joyboy was inspired by the story of Shango. And I say this because the story of Shango, as described, is an individual who got theorized in my previous video on emu, which you have to check out if you have not yet. Shango was seen as a king while he was alive, but once he passed, he was worshipped as a god. We know that there are other gods in One Piece, but we don't know exactly what the relationship to the Sun God exactly was. I believe that Joyboy was the king of the gods, due to the fact that he led the ancient kingdom. We learned that the 5 elders within the Gorosei all have an epithet of God within their name, and each representing a different god, as one might say. Perhaps Joyboy ruled over these individuals that have God within their name in the past. We know that God Valley was where these individuals used to reside before 𝙲𝚘𝚎 went and started causing a commotion on the island. Perhaps this island is where Joyboy met his untimely death. Emu moving all of these quote-unquote gods there in order to step on his grave in a way. This also could have been the reason why 𝙲𝚘𝚎 was so adamant on going to God Valley in the first place, unearthing the mystery of the island and kicking the individuals out that were not worthy to be there. And while we're on this topic of God Valley, what if God Valley was actually in between the 3 gates of justice? We know that when Luffy and the escapees from Impel Down were sailing, there was a giant whirlpool. And what if this is actually where the Mother Flame was used at before it was used on Lelouchia? And just let me know what you guys think about that little theory that was a part of this video in the comments. Let me know if you guys are on the same mindset that I am. But let's get back to talking about Shango and the connections of Joyboy. So Shango, as I said previously, was a man whom loved to party just like Luffy does. During the rituals performed by the Yakuba, they treat it more of a party and celebration instead of a common ritual. They sing, they dance, they feast, and they party. This is due to it being Shango's favorite thing to do. The connection is mind-blowing, to say the least. This is said because these are each of the things that Luffy truly loves to do, and tries to do as much as possible. He in fact tries to have a party or feast after liberating each island, his way of celebrating and having a grand old time. I believe that Luffy's ultimate dream might be to have the biggest party in the whole world, which could perhaps be when all the islands are partying at the same time. One thing about Shango that just sounds so interesting is that when Shango parties, the drums are heard everywhere, making the ground rumble with each sound of the drum. The same could be said about the Gear 5 form. When his heart starts racing, the drums of liberation are heard, him being Joyboy or Luffy. One could say that Shango having a hate for injustice and a love for equality for all makes him a warrior of liberation, just like our captain of the Straw Hats, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy constantly shows his hate for the oppression of people. Within each arc, we see that a villain is causing the people that reside on the island harm in many different ways, emotionally, physically, and or mentally. The dreams that the villain has for themselves causes them to act in a way that is seen not to be morally or ethically right. With the individuals acting in this manner, Luffy finds it infuriating. It makes it his job to break those dreams of the antagonist, ultimately changing the individual and liberating them from their own evil doing, causing these villains to have a change of heart and a change of face. The part about this theory that seals the deal of Nika being inspired by Shango to me is the fact that Shango and Luffy both can tell when someone is being truthful or lying. We know that Luffy is able to always tell when someone is being truthful or lying, as if he is able to read someone's heart and their mind. We have seen him do this numerous amounts of times. When others in the crew tell him not to believe the person, he looks at them and is able to tell that they aren't deceiving him in any type of way. The example that always pops into my head first is the time when Robin told Luffy not to just team up with Law, because when pirates team up, they always end in betrayal. Luffy asks Law if he'll betray him, and Law answers with a simple no. And Luffy smiles at Robin, basically like, I told you so. At this moment, we see a star pop up next to the right side of Luffy's head. Could this have been him using the ability to judge if one was being truthful or deceiving? When a star pops up, there's even a sound effect, which could be interpreted as an ability being used. After thinking about this ability, I wonder if the ability to read someone's intentions is a power that Luffy has due to his voice of all things. We learn more about the voice of all things as the story goes on, but to this day, we don't know if that is an ability the voice of all things grants. Shango and Monkey D. Luffy. These two individuals have more connections than I could have ever imagined. Though the worshipping of Shango as a god originated within Yoruba culture within Africa, he is also worshipped in Brazil, the country that Oda said Luffy would be from in the real world. There are plenty of gods that have connections to the power of the Sun God within One Piece, but none that truly have this many connections with the character of Luffy and Nika. Equality, justice, and a love for feast and partying. These are the characteristics both of these individuals have in common. Now, this is the end of the video. I just want to know if you guys think that Shango was truly the inspiration behind Luffy, Joyboy, and the Sun God Nika. Before I end this video off, I just want to say thank you for watching the video, and I don't really know who needs to hear this right now, but all your dreams could come true. You just need to have the courage to pursue them. It's your boy Young Usopp, and I'm out of here. Bye.
Take me back to the old days, all days, yeah, I said that